Started. I think we'll get started. We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. We've got a full house. Apologies? No? Motions to grant leave of absence? Anybody? No? Leave of absence, non-attendance, public open forum. Aldo Passon, Williston and Elliot Goodyear Removal Park Development, Williston Football Club. President at willistonfootballclub.com.au. Yeah, there you go.
All right, obviously firstly thank you guys for allowing me to say probably thank you back to you guys. So I do appreciate it, not only just myself, but obviously speaking on behalf of all our affiliated clubs. Just make you fully aware that our affiliated clubs are, netball club as well as cricket club, but we do have country music, bingos every Friday night, so we're a bit of a vast more than just a football club. Our wellbeing program is probably second to none, I believe, and that's not just state-wise, probably national-wise. But apart from all that, the sporting community probably thanks the way how you guys have gone about not only just the Williston Footy Club but all sporting clubs in Gawler. We do talk a lot, and the way how things are changing in amongst you guys and moving forward of improving infrastructure is awesome and second to none. So I do really appreciate that, not only just as the Williston Footy Club. And we're just super excited and greatly appreciated. We can try and turn them concept plans into reality moving forward. We know that there's a lot of water that's got to go under the bridge, so we do understand that. So we're just excited, and yeah, thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Aldo Passon, President of the Williston Football Club. Thank you. Deputations nil, adjourned items nil, petitions nil. Confirmation of minutes. Ordinary Council meeting 17th of December 2024. Who would like to move that? Councillor Hughes. Who would like to second it? Jim Vallelonga. Thank you, Councillor Vallelonga. Yep. So any discussion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Business arising from minutes, nil. So we move on to decision reports. What?
I need to declare a conflict of interest at this point.
Yes.
I have material interest in this matter.
Yes.
I'm going to leave the meeting.
Yes, thank you. I'm on page 5 of 97. Nomination, Councillor Helen Hennessy, Libraries Board of South Australia. Do you want to move that motion, Nathan?
Thank you, Mayor. Am I able to, and I know Helen's just walked out, but before anything's put on the table, am I able to move up the Elliot Goodyear, given that we've got a couple of people that are probably interested in that? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can move that. We can move that.
I mean, this one will probably be pretty quick anyway, so I'm happy to slot it in after, but just to oblige the gallery, that's all.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm happy,
You want to
I'm
move?
happy.
You want to move that motion?
Look, I'm happy to move this one first because I don't think it's going to take that long. But if I could
Yeah,
slot
yeah.
the Elliot
Yeah.
Goodyear one straight after, just because
Okay.
Helen's already left.
Okay. Yeah. She's already gone.
So I'm happy to move that way. Nothing
You,
to speak.
you want to move that way?
Yep.
And you are seconding it, Councillor Samble. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would ask all councillors to support this for Councillor Hennessy. Councillor Hennessy, I've been involved with local government and the town of Gawler for 23 years, and her passion for the town and certainly the way libraries operate, and I think we all know that libraries are nothing that we can say, well, gee, we did pretty well out of the library this year, because they're a contribution to our community that people need, and over the years they've certainly changed, and the cost to run libraries is certainly quite prohibitive in some ways, and I believe that she would be one of the best candidate nominations for this particular position, and keep everybody on the right railway track.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No. I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Thank you. Helen Hennessy can come back. Yeah. So do you want to move the motion? Where is it? Where is it? Oh. So you want to move the motion forward? Yep.
Yes, please, Mayor. Just, if I could move 10.3 to be next item to be dealt with.
10.3, Elliot Goodyear Memorial Park Clubroom and Netball Development Concept. Yes.
If I can move that forward, yes, please.
Thank you. Councillor Vallelonga, thank you. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Awesome. So
I'm happy to move that motion to Mayor.
you're happy?
Yep.
You're happy to move that motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members. I think the President of Williston covered it quite well. Just in relation to the processes to date, I've been lucky enough to be invited to a few sponsorship days, as I know some of my colleagues as well, and I have heard our Mayor rightfully point out the process that needs to be undertaken to get us to this pivotal point. Now, it should be made very clear, though, that this isn't the time to necessarily get our hopes up just yet. There are a bunch of things we need to align to be able to position us in the next steps in the journey. But yes, absolutely, the master plan process, if elected members recall, is something that was sitting as a below-the-line budget bid for almost a number of years, and the fact that we're able to bring it above the line sets us in really good stead to be able to be clear with our buy-in partners that we have the opportunity to work with. We know this legacy infrastructure isn't something that we can fund fully through council, and the residential rates that make up a majority of our income and deliver the service expectations as well. So, being able to have the opportunity to speak to our federal partners, our state partners, any other external bodies like the SANFL, these sorts of documents are what we go with, armed with. And I've really heard some great feedback come through the user groups in the engagement process of how this will look, how this will come about. And I think there has been some really good buy-ins, don't get me wrong. These master plans are always based on an idea, and the technicality of how they get delivered are the next process, the next step. But shoring up some money is what's going to be able to justify doing those more technical nuts and bolts drawings. So I know it's only a noting report, but I think it is worthy of commending staff and their processes and really showing our appreciation for the buy-in from the user groups as well, while also making it very, very clear that we do advocate on your behalf, but we do need our partners to come to the table as well.
Seconder, Councillor White. Councillor White. Do you want to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Redman. I just want to take the opportunity to, I guess, go through a bit of the justification for the proposal, because it's obviously quite impressive when we look at that proposal that's been set, and I think it's quite exciting, obviously, for members of the Williston Sporting Clubs and our community. But I guess I'm going to take some extracts out of the justification as well as some other documents that have been circulated. So, justifying this concept proposal is ensuring that the sporting ground is a modern, compliant and accessible community and sporting precinct that allows spectators and participants to engage fully in their community. It's going to have an increased capacity for our growing community, and in a modern world, particularly for women's sport, these are the sort of facilities that are required. So it is easy to sit here and go, wow, this is, extremely impressive club rooms, and we only have to look around at our neighbours to see some very, very impressive sporting facilities. However, I guess I want to come in saying that this is fantastic that this is happening, but this is justified. We are a growing community, and the days of having a block of 10 showers together in an old asbestos-filled change room are behind us. So these are the sort of facilities, if we want our children, our next generation of not necessarily young athletes, but just young active citizens, these are the sort of change rooms, club rooms, community facilities that they require in a modern world. So I think it is really exciting that we are finally seeing some, I guess, tangible action from a lot of years of work. And I do want to echo the words that the Deputy Mayor has said, that it has been fantastic to engage with the local sporting community, and also want to commend council staff and other federal and state stakeholders that have been involved in this process. We aren't done yet, but I think it's safe to say that now we have a pretty clear roadmap of what we as a collective community need to do to make sure we can get some achievable action out there at Williston. So I do want to thank everyone involved, and also very much glad to read that we're proactively engaging with stakeholders such as Netball SA and others alike already to look at the potential funding opportunities for our portion. So I think it's very exciting. So congratulations to all involved, and look forward to continuing working with everyone on this journey.
Thank you. David, do you want to say something?
So through the Chair, just picking up on that active engagement, we have met with representatives from South Australian Cricket Association, Netball SA and South Australian National Football League, as recently as just last week for SACA, and all three of those agencies are on board the concept. Whether we can get funding out of all three is yet to be seen, but they love the concept, love the idea, and are willing to partner with us in future advocacy from all three of those associations, which is a fantastic outcome that's only just recently been achieved, so that's good.
Thank you. Paul Kosh.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I've actually got some questions, if that's okay, through you.
Yeah.
I suppose the first question is, this is basically a $20 million project.
Yeah.
What's the leasing arrangements on that building once it's built? Because I think, from my understanding now, clubs have a ground lease, and then what would be the leasing arrangement for that building?
David.
So through the Chair, we don't have an answer to that yet, Councillor Kosh. We're working through those leasing arrangements. We are currently doing exactly the same with Gawler Central's new modular change rooms and Carbeth and Sporting Association's new modular change rooms as well. Both of those projects have capital investment from Council, so we need to work through those as addendums to their existing leases, and then as part of the renewal of all leases, which is occurring in a couple of years, I think, 27 I think it is, there'll be new lease arrangements. We don't have the answer to that yet for this concept development. Until we know the outcome in terms of the final cost, the ongoing maintenance operations, etc., that's based on that final cost, because this is a concept at this point in time, we won't be able to fully understand how that relationship works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I appreciate that we don't know yet. I do have concerns about that, because when I look at examples like the summit at Mount Barker, it got to a point where the football club and the cricket club had to leave because they couldn't afford the lease agreements, and their council, from media reports, are spending $400,000 a year just to keep it afloat, maintain it. I think they have 1 or 2 games up there a year. You've got a tennis precinct down the road, which, from my understanding, nobody uses, and I don't know, and that's sort of, and again, I mean, I spoke to some people that were part of that tennis club, and they said they moved to another council because they couldn't afford the lease payments. So I'm really concerned that we actually sort that out, otherwise we could end up with a situation where it's just unaffordable for the clubs. For another example is Lindock. I know everyone loves Lindock, and just recently the Barossa Football and Netball Management Committee have put out a schedule for the higher fee of that building. I look at the figures. I don't know how any club can afford to use it if they go on those figures. So I would hope that we would try to nut all that out before we go too far, and I would hate to see Williston and the other clubs be in a position where they could not afford to be there, as what's happened up at Mount Barker, because that's terrible, and they're real examples. And the tennis club at Playford, that's a real example. So I would hope that we can sort that out, and that Williston and the other clubs are fully cognisant of those potential arrangements and sign off on what would potentially be the lease fees, because that is, I think that's quite a serious issue.
Do you want to make some comment, David?
Through the chair, only to reiterate and agree with Councillor Koch, we need to make it an affordable proposition for the clubs. Otherwise, they will be underutilised facilities, as the Mount Barker example has shown. And that is something that we as council and council staff need to do through the negotiation with the users and clubs, and how we best make that business case stack up for ongoing sustainable use. Because the last thing we want to do is build this beautiful new facility to service Williston Football Club, netball and cricket, and then Williston Football, netball and cricket move somewhere else to play because they can't afford it. So 100% agree with you.
That's right. Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, just a question along those same lines. Have Williston looked at it involving any schools? Because like the River Lee development, they're actually Playford, and I think schools are looking at that, and out at Rosebery, Trinity and the Oval there. It just, I think that would help with the maintenance and things like that. Is that something that's been looked into?
Through the chair, I can't answer direct for Williston, but Aldo's in the room, fortunately, if you wanted to ask him. It's not something that council staff have turned their mind to at this point in time, as Williston Football Club are the leaseholder of the site. But if Williston Football Club were wanting to subtenant to others and have other user groups, as they do with the current community facility for country music and bingo and those sorts of things, that could be something that the club could be interested in.
Aldo?
Yeah, obviously, good question to try and get other users in to fund the project in some ways ongoing. We've got scouts that could utilise it, but it's only probably a seasonal thing for them. Schools, there's probably no school that's close, but we'll just have to negotiate and talk to the council once the modelling. We've got to start somewhere, so once we know all the costs, we'll sit around and we'll definitely work it out. We'll make an agreement to work it out, but always open to other users,
Thank you. Thank you, Aldo. Any other discussion? Councillor Hughes?
Just supporting this motion, and I just see it's really important for the partnerships. I think it's already been mentioned about Mount Barker, and I noticed, I think it was Monday in the Advertiser, today's Advertiser, Dan Crean, the state politician, sort of saying for Mount Barker, he's delivered a new hospital. We actually have more presentations to our accident emergency than Mount Barker. A new aquatic centre is also on the way. The sports hub, they're getting a new ambulance station. They've got a new service SA centre. major roads, public transport upgrades are also happening in Mount Barker, delivered or underway. So I think, we need to, learn from some of the mistakes at Mount Barker's, but we need to get on board with the state and federal politicians and really fight for some of these developments for our area. I do think, Councillor White mentioned, that our old change rooms, they are really old, and we've really missed out over the years in investment from state and federal politicians, and we really need to really get our sporting grounds and get those partnerships going. And I think schools and other, even trying to think outside the box, but a sport I played in Gawler was hockey, and we used the Gawler Primary School oval for training at night. Trinity put their own for a synthetic court, and have got a synthetic hockey ground now. But I think those partnerships, especially for the maintenance and the ongoing costs for us as a community, because we haven't got that size, but we've got lots of beautiful sporting club grounds, but we just need to work, but we also need to get some help from our state and federal politicians as well.
Councillor Kosh.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'll be supporting this motion because it's a noting motion, and I would hope that we can work out how the leasing and the finances go, because the last thing I want to see is something that it's so expensive that nobody can use it. And I do think we should be lobbying our federal and state politicians for more funding, and I would like to see the aquatic centre pushed up there a bit, because it is over 60 years old, the shell, and sometimes I think it's been held together by brown paper vinegar and string. So I really do want, we really need to sort that out. So, happy to support this.
I swam there this morning.
Make sure you don't break the shell.
I didn't break the shell. Okay. If there's no further discussion, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor Redman. And I just want to reiterate, I think, how, this is a great job that staff have done to get us to this point, but also acknowledge some of the work that has gone into this, because I think we've really moved, especially in this term of council, to really taking ownership of this planning component and being in a position to advocate for our community on matters like this. And I think that's been done in a really collaborative way. And we've moved perhaps away from, of course we need to lobby, but I think we've taken some serious steps now where we're not just lobbying or advocating anymore, but what this actually demonstrates is it's not even negotiating, it's collaborating between the members of our community and the levels of government there to actually try and turn some of these plans into a reality. And as Deputy Mayor mentioned before, to have this as something which was on the list, which Bryce put on the list a long time ago, and budget after budget didn't find itself as a priority, to have now taken that and really be in a position to make the most of funding opportunities and those opportunities for collaboration that come up, I think is a really important thing. And I think, I have to thank as well the Deputy Mayor, because that, the work which has been done through some of these infrastructure conversations with the club, I think has helped to get us in a position to really collaborate there as well. So I think this is a good job all round, and we'll be supporting this noting motion as well.
If there's no further discussion, I'll put that. You want to wrap up the debate?
Yeah, just quickly, Mayor. Thank you. Firstly, thanks for the good conversation. I always look forward to having the conversation of these, legacy infrastructure deliveries. Although it's not something that is happening next week or anything, it is really good to be clear on the processes that has been working behind the scenes to actually allow us to get to the point where we can go, hey, this is what we're aiming for. I know, you know, my colleagues in the room have been out publicly trying to educate, I guess, our community for years and years and years on the processes that need to be undertaken to be able to put us in a good position to do those advocacy pieces. This is just that repeated. You know, we've seen some good outcomes come from the Essex Park Master Plan. We've seen some good outcomes come from the Carbeethan Master Plan. I really hope that on the horizon we've got the Southern Community Hub Master Plan that we can actually develop in the same sort of manner, because realistically as a council we should be out there saying not only do we need those connector roads, which are important infrastructure, you also need that social infrastructure as well, because while we're setting up a community, while our community is evolving, if we don't provide the grassroots opportunity, sporting programs and opportunity, even passive recreation, it all ties in together. I think we've been pretty consistent in the high importance we hold in this topic, and it filters straight from our community plan, and then it's underpinned by our master plans. And in answer to the nuts and bolts, which I spoke about before, absolutely, the business cases definitely need to be formed, and this is what I think empowers that additional work to flow through. I also note the clever funding model that staff have put to us, which only actually puts us on the hook for 16%. You know, we delivered Walker Place for around $2.5 million, and we didn't have the sort of user groups we have in this particular community infrastructure. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, I think it's an achievable figure, it's a responsible figure. Now, whether or not we can line all that up is going to be the onus on who we've got speaking on our behalf. But I think the fact that even in our infrastructure working group, we've got our local member sitting on it, experiencing it firsthand on what the needs are, what the wants are, and differentiating between them to help develop a master plan. When we've got a working group that is personally reporting back to our federal member on how our last meeting went, these are the conversations that we're able to have in a mature, professional manner that does get this outcome. Because the passing the buck, or it's not our problem, it's state governments, federal governments, it's SACA, so that's not the model that gets things done. And I think we're showing that. So although we're in its infancy, I think we're on the right path.
Thank you. The debate is now closed. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Reference. 9.2, page 21 of 97. Council Assessment Panel membership extension and commencement of new panel recruitment. Who wants to move this motion? Oh, appoints the mayor, council. Well, we've got 3 councillors. Who wants to be on the 9.2? 9.2. Yes. Yes, it's the selection panel. You want to be on there? Who wants to be on there? Councillor Davies, Councillor Koch, and 4. Appoints the mayor, councillor, and councillor. So we have 3 positions. We have 3 positions. What? We can do a ballot. We can do a ballot. Yeah. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got 4 nominations, as I understand it, at the moment.
Is this a required 3 or is that just another that they arbitrarily put on?
We can put another one on. We can put another one on.
You certainly could, Madam Mayor.
We can. So, Councillor Koch, Councillor Davies, Councillor Solomon and Councillor Hennessy. So, are we all agreed on that? Do you want to move? Do you want to move the motion? So, move the motion. You want to move the motion? Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm happy to move the motion, but I'd like to add a third point, an extra point.
Yeah.
Hang on, sorry, I'm a little bit, just see if we do. We're going to add a, it'll become 3A. So we adopt the updated Council Assessment Panel terms of reference with the following change, and that will include the removal of clause 4.2.2 as the required clarity is provided in clause 4.2.3.
4.2.2?
Yep, remove that one because it's explained in 4.2.3. For those of you paying attention, there was some discussion this afternoon as we went through the fine details, and that was an oversight and has just been inadvertently included.
So you're moving 4.2.3?
No, we would just move one clause.
4.2.2?
Yep.
Yep.
Because it's already explained.
Okay, thank you.
And with that, I'll move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. Do you want to speak? No, you don't want to speak. So, moved by Councillor Hennessy.
Mayor Edmund, if the mover and second are happy, I might seek leave to make a small change, just also to strike out the edit there that says up to 1 member of the council, just because I think obviously that reflects what's in the Act, but as a statement to our community and as by practice that we do have a council member on there, just to make sure that we're clear that for future we would
move it down.
So that's for anyone looking is 4.1.1.1 in the terms of reference. Yeah.
4. Where are you? 4.1. 4.2.1.
On page 38 here.
38. Where? Oh, that one there. Up to 1 member of the council members. Yeah. You've turned it off.
Oh, no, sorry. As the mover of the motion, I'm very happy. That was an oversight. Yes, I support that simply being changed to 1 member rather than up to 1 member. I think it's important to our community that we continue to have an elected member on board.
Will be independent members. Okay. So appoints the Mayor, Councillor Koch, Councillor Davies, Councillor Solomon, Councillor Hennessy. So did you want a ballot? Did you want a ballot? You've got 4 of us. Yeah. Move it up. So, okay, thank you. Okay, so.
I'll take advice.
Yeah.
Do we now need to put another section into 3 to indicate that we want 4.1.1 change, the wording of that? Yeah.
Yeah, certainly through you, Madam Mayor, I'll just work with Nikita just to put a part B in the third part of that motion.
Yeah.
Just give me 2 minutes, please, Madam
Yeah.
Mayor.
Yep. B. Following changes. B.
No. We haven't done that. 4.1 will be constituted of 5 members, CAP members, to be appointed by the council, comprising up to 1 member of the council. The balance of remaining members will be 4 independent members, not being members of the council or state parliament. Thank you. Amend clause 4.1. 4.1.1 to read 1 member of the council. So what does that mean?
So thank you, Madam Mayor. If I can just clarify the addition, 3B, which is to amend clause 4.1.1.1. I just need to add another point 1 after that to read 1 member rather than up to. So it's achieving the clarification that was sought.
Okay, thank you. All right. So any discussion on this matter? Any discussion on this matter? Councillor Hennessy, do you want to wrap up the debate? You turned it off.
That's okay, I'm having trouble with the microphone. No, thank you very much, and thanks for everyone's input. I think we've come now to a good recommendation, so I'm happy to let it go to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 9.3, page 33 of 97, monthly finance report, December 2024. I will defer to the CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just got my finance hat on this evening in Sharon's stead. The main changes are listed there for councillors' information on page 35 on. There's a number of positives and negatives. I'm pleased to say that the variations have meant we're not recommending a change to the bottom line. And as far as we're concerned, things are running quite well to this date and time. But happy to take any questions should elected members have them. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the CEO? Deputy Mayor?
It's through you, Mayor, and it might be deferred to Wendy. But just on page 38, firstly, I really like this graph. It's a good way to look at things. I'm constantly sort of looking at it and going, oh yeah, you're 6 months through a budget cycle. You know, the actuals versus the budgeted. The only one that's sort of just sort of standing out at the moment is just around the transport one. Just we look around a quarter, if generous, maybe a third complete. So I just obviously there's a bit of design that goes into it, but just a little bit of an update around that. And then we've got other and drainage. They are a smaller, but I'm assuming that is because it's one of those design and then it links together and then all of a sudden in the last part of the year. Just trying to get a gauge on project rollover potentials.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Chair. So transport projects are largely coming to the conclusion of design. So we've got a couple of major projects being 12th Street and Clark Road. They take a huge chunk of that money. I say they're coming to the final stages of design at the moment. A current programming says that they will be finished by the end of June. There's a little bit of conversation for Clark Road that involves the developer and how they're going to program their works, which may interface with that program and could push out delivery, just being transparent. 12th Street, provided we keep along with the current design parameters, is looking secure to be finished. The second part of the road reseals is another big chunk of money, another $1 million. That's all already pre-programmed in for March this year. Drainage projects, again, also in the last bits of design. We've just awarded one of the projects, which we'll see a nice big chunk of that go through. Looking forward to getting that done. Otherwise, going largely to plan with capital works. But again, I'm going to be transparent and say this has been an incredibly large budget. It's $18 million of capital in this financial year. And I will say that I do think to their limits. So in reflection of that, you'll see a slightly reduced program coming through as we go into the next budgeting cycle, just giving you a little foreshadow of what's to come there.
Thank you. Thank you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Any other discussion? We've got an officer's recommendation. I'll call for a mover. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hughes, do you want to speak?
Just briefly, yeah, I do like the reporting. It's really transparent. We can see the rates rebate for the Jockey Club was $44,000 and things like that. It really does stand out, and there's other things there as well. So yeah, I do. Happy to move the motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Councillor Koch. Councillor Koch. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the clarity, Wendy. It's crazy how the information becomes so obvious when you understand what you're reading, and that's what these monthly finance reports actually allow us to do.
They do.
And, I've always been a little bit, sceptical is probably the wrong word, but, we do request and we are obliged to give a lot of different reports. And the linking from the monthly report to the quarterly report to the half-yearly report to the annual budget report and the performance report. I really like the language that's used in these monthly reports. And that's why I do sort of ask these sorts of questions. Because previously, where we might see, I'd rather see a project recommended to roll into the next budget cycle than it sometimes get rushed just so it's completed. I think that's bad business, but we also need to be realistic in what we can deliver in a 12-month snapshot. Yeah. You've heard me talk in the past that I think it's, when we're talking about capital works, I think it's pretty unreasonable to think that you can deliver to the dollar $18 million worth of work from July 1st to June 30. But the ability of being able to communicate and budget appropriately and then track the carry forwards, I think that's where we need to pick up and be consistent. So when we're tracking well, which I agree, I think the graph, that's why I raised it, I think we are tracking well and we are showing that the design phase and we're about to go bang because some of them are bigger projects and they do require that first half year planning. But how we communicate them through consistently, I think, is a body of work that I think we're getting better at, but I think we still have some area of improvement as a whole because we're starting to understand the cause and effects a bit better. So broader comments there, and more so the capital delivery, but I think we're getting to a point where an $18 million capital program, if we are in the mindset of, look, this is probably too large, we do have the data that will back it to say the new capital projects and the justification of bringing in those contract staff will actually start aligning with our objectives, and the business cases will underpin those capital deliveries as well. But again, you know, thank you for the transparency and thank you for the clarity. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
David Hughes, Councillor Hughes, do you want to wrap up the debate? No. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. CEO, recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just thought with item 9.4 it might pay for me just to give a little bit of explanation. I know when I first read it, I had to read it twice. In essence, these are, you'll be familiar with the term separate rates, and where ostensibly we've probably got 40 odd properties across the town of Gawler where we issue a separate rate, but it only becomes real or becomes realised once that property hits certain hurdles or gets developed. Now, what happened when we were levying that rate across those 40 properties, the bottom line was correct, but with these 6 properties in question, for whatever reason, we have to call it administrative error, I've got no other way of describing it, the dollars that were attributed to each of these 6 properties became mixed. So this exercise is simply taking those 6 properties and reallocating the particular dollar amounts against those 6 properties. And in actual fact, one of the property owners picked up the error and actually informed us some time ago. So most of these properties will be aware that they're about to receive an updated notice. Whilst we will make sure that doesn't happen again, the pleasing thing is the bottom line of the 40 properties that we assessed is correct. It was simply a misallocation of the dollars amongst these 6 properties. Hopefully that provides clarification, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. Who wants to move the motion? Councillor Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davies. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this matter? No? Yeah? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor. You know, I just wanted to thank the CEO for the explanation and appreciate it. I think, look, we obviously all make mistakes and we're not quite sure what the error was, but I do just want to ensure that everyone is aware that, first of all, the CEO has informed me that the property owners will be informed of this change, but also, you know, potentially they are 6 property owners, they are, you know, people, depending on the lottery of what was assigned to them, they might be originally thinking that their total rate, for example, was going to be 134,000, now it's down to 102, or for another particular property, they might have thought it was 154,000 and it's now going to jump to 535,000. So obviously in real life that hasn't changed, but from a communications point of view, I think this is, and it was a mistake, we can fix it, but I just think this is an important example of where we need to be very careful with how we communicate and how crucial communications are, particularly when it comes to money. I think we all know the Jockey Club and what happens when communications potentially aren't fully realised, what happened last year. This is a different scenario, but I just really wanted to draw to everyone's attention that we all make mistakes, but it is really important that we do nail communication, and I'm sure that the CEO will ensure that in the communication to the 6 property owners, that'll be explained fully.
That's correct. Any other discussion on this matter? Councillor Davies, do you want to wrap the debate up? No? Okay. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So we've got information reports, 223-24 external audit opinion, that the audit opinions relating to the 223-24 general purpose financial statements and internal controls be received and noted. Thank you. Who wants to move the motion? Councillor Hughes, thank you. Who wants to second the motion? Councillor Lorna, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Jack Cooper Reserve Play Space preliminary engagement. Do you want to move that motion, Helen?
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to move this. I thank the officer for the report. However, I'm just going to add an additional point, which I sent through earlier. I'm very happy, and I understand that that staff may use a physical address to describe these different play spaces. I can well understand that's part of their method of operating, but however, I think it's really important publicly that we acknowledge that this reserve was named after a local identity, and therefore I'm asking that we always refer to the play space as the Jack Cooper Reserve Play Space.
So, in deference to the family and friends of the highly respected late Mr. Jack Cooper, the planned play space for this area will always be publicly referred to as the Jack Cooper Reserve Play Space.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to second it. Councillor Samble has seconded it. Any discussion? Yep, thank you.
I've got a question. I just want to clarify, there's a development happening on the corner of Anglevale and Jack Cooper Drive, and we can see that happening. Is there going to be a playground area in there, and will there be a double up, basically?
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Koch. Another wonderful question. No, there will not be. There's not a play space planned for that development on the corner of Jack Cooper Drive and Anglevale Road. Instead, that is an example of where we are asking the developer to provide a contribution, as outlined in the play space strategy, that will go towards funding play spaces in that catchment. Yeah.
Thank you. Is that answer your question? Thank you. Yep.
Perhaps as a follow-up, are we therefore planning that there will be some type of wombat crossing on the road to enable children from one area to cross safely?
That's a really good question. There you go.
Sorry, through the chair. That connection is still being explored. So obviously you've got a high-speed road between the two developments. However, what is also within the catchment of the... I actually don't know the name of the development that's on Anglevale Road and Jack Cooper Drive, sorry. Vergara development. Down the road from that is the Carbeathan Reserve, which has also got a play space plan for it within the play space strategy. So that's actually the safer connection ultimately for that community. But safe access, obviously, between reserves is important.
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, happy to support this. This is another great example of that back-end work done in a strategy and sort of watching it unfold. It is just the same formula repeated, and I think that's really good to see in action. The only point I saw was the drop-in session on the 5th of July. Didn't have a strong uptake, but I mean, for me, being a young family, there was no way I was going to be able to bring the kids there in business hours. I did note with the Red Banks Road round, the Alliance Park.
Lime Kiln Park.
Lime Kiln Park, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ailing.
Red Banks Road roundabout. No, Red Banks Road. So that park that we all know and that has multiple names depending on which generation you're in, we noticed that the drop-in sessions were done over 2 days, and I think one day was on that weekend, which allowed that secondary catchment for the young families that do work. So that was the only bit that I picked up in the report.
There's a lot of little families there that frequent that park.
Oh, absolutely.
Frequent that park.
Yeah, even us in Williston like doing a bit of a rotation because there's different offerings, which again the strategy talks about. So yeah, that was just a bit of feedback there because I think I did see this advertised, put out on social media, but it was I can't make that one. straight away. I'm probably talking more as a father than an elected member at this point.
Thank you. Councillor Davies and Councillor Koch.
Yeah, it's yeah. So as the one whose motion it was to bring this forward, I'm happy with this this report. I think there's some good feedback in there. Just, I guess, some context for why it got brought up in the first place. The existing playground, I think, they were promised perhaps more by the developer than they ended up getting, and so there's just some need to increase the playground, and so and obviously the going across the high-speed road to the Carbeath and all that sort of thing is not really viable from there. And yes, happy to support the third point and Councillor Hennessy's crusade to have everyone correctly call the playgrounds by their names, such as the Ailing and Dwyer Lime Kiln Park.
Ailing and Dwyer Lime Kiln Park. That's correct. That's correct. we need to sign. Okay. Councillor Koch.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this now. I was a bit concerned with the thought that there might be two play areas adjacent to each other, but now that clarification, plus if they're contributing to the $320,000 to $420,000 price tag, that is going to be pretty good from the developer. So, and I agree that the development at Carbeath will probably complement that Bargara development anyway. So happy to support that now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Councillor Davies for, I guess, bringing this to our attention earlier on. Obviously, it clearly is a big concern for the local residents there. I also want to thank Wendy and her team for their fantastic work. And also, just in regards to these reports, when we actually see the raw responses that community members have given, I actually think it's really important. And clearly there's a consensus that there's change required, and now residents hopefully will be seeing this change progress in line with our strategic plans. So I think that's really good, and it does show that we are listening to our community members, and for us as elected members to have those raw responses in front of us, I think is really important. And just to add to the debate, the playground on Redbanks Road, growing up, I always referred to it as Seapod Park because of the seapod trees that lined there. So I had no idea about the official name until I joined council.
They're being pulled out.
Yeah. I guess I think we need a sign. But no, thank you though. Happy to support the motion.
Councillor Vallelonga.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion. I have no problem about that. Does anybody know Jack Cooper?
No.
Probably Brian Wood.
Brian Wood.
Yeah. Does anybody know what he done?
Yeah.
What did he do? Wasn't he the last person to have horse cart and milk run?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a bit of a character, they reckon.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Councillor Hennessy, do you want to wrap up the debate? Thank you. Thank you.
You certainly woke me up.
Thank you.
I think most importantly about everything that's been said, it's very, very responsible conversation, certainly about the Wombat crossing, because I've talked about it that many times. I don't know what to call it anymore, because nobody doesn't know that there's a lot of children around and there's a lot of rev heads around. I mean, I've been a rev head for the last 6 days, but some of the people that are driving in those areas there, the coppers are picking, or the police, sorry, are picking people up all the time down there because of the speed. And I think, as Wendy indicated, it's a high-speed road and it's a government road. It's not Gawler's Road. And that's where we keep coming into this. But with all that's been said, certainly what Jimmy said about Jack Cooper and everything, we need to tell our community more through our paper about these things. So many phone calls, and I know a lot of you other councillors had phone calls. What in the hell are you doing pulling out all the trees up at, what's the name of the park, Ethan?
Red
Up
Banks
there.
Road, Red Banks
Why
Road.
pull out all those trees? Well, there was a reason, because they were dead, they were breaking and everything. We've got to get better at telling our community through our paper or even on the radio or wherever it needs to be about what is going on. And it's also a bit like the, what was the board tonight that we elected the councillors to? Everybody thinks that we make the decisions with our valuable staff about developments and things in the town. Phone calls every day, what's going on up at Springwood, all these sort of things and so forth. We've got to get better at promoting to our community that we represent the 22,241 and another one tonight. I mean, it's one of those things where, what are you laughing at me? But we really do have to be better communicators, and certainly it's moving forward, and I'm so very proud to see the way staff have been doing this, but we have to tell the people that we represent a lot better.
We do. Thank you. Councillor Hennessy, you're happy to move that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Recommendations from committees, nil. External bodies reports, minutes of internal and external bodies. Officers' recommendation. Who wants to move the motion? Councillor Vallelonga, thank you. Who wants to second the motion? Councillor Hughes, thank you. Regional Subsidiary Gawler River Flood Management Authority, 12th of December 2024, Council Working Group, Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group, 18th of December 2024. So that's what we're voting on. Yeah.
I just think at this point more of a comment. I found the two reports side by side to be quite revealing. I find the minutes of the Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority Board slim.
Yeah, they do.
If it comes to an informative and educated document.
Yeah.
And I guess my answer to that would be that we're going to need to have, I think, a briefing on what is actually happening, because the minutes are not providing me with enough information for me to be able to understand where our money is going and what the future plans for this group are. I would encourage perhaps the board to reflect on the fact about their communication back to the councils that fund this area, particularly in light of the discussion that yet again another council is indicating its intention to quit. Maybe more information to the councils involved would make elected members feel more informed.
Okay. Councillor Koch?
I was just going to respond.
Yeah.
Can I just respond?
Yeah.
The executive officer actually, well, I can't remember, but he used to send out a little summary of the what happened, and then I used to forward that on. But that hasn't. But I can actually get that again if you like, and it just briefly provides that a little bit more detail. So I'll follow up on that.
Okay. Thank you. Does that address your question? Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just noticed, and I don't disagree with trying to get some more information, that would be handy. I did notice with the RAB that it was pretty much attended by council staff and elected members. So it's just a question around that. I'm not one to throw stones. I've got work commitments and all the rest of it. But I'm just wondering, is that a common theme? Is it just an anomaly?
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, the majority of people that are unable to attend at the moment actually work within the education system and are finding it difficult to attend the meetings as such.
They're also working in health.
And health and education.
Yeah.
So as a group, we have amended our meeting schedule for this forthcoming year to better respond to those employment requirements.
We're going to have a workshop.
We're going to do a combination of Zoom meetings and workshops, and workshops that occur perhaps during the school holidays. So it is taken and noted, and we are adapting to meet what our community members can provide to us in terms of their valuable time.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah,
Through you, Matt.
great. Do you want to speak?
That's the question. 4 meetings, you're supposed to have a quorum. So if all the staff turn up and you haven't got anybody that's supposed to be representative there, have you got a quorum?
Well, we do have a quorum. We do have a quorum. RAP, yeah. We'll take that on notice. We'll take that on notice.
Through the chair, if I just could clarify, the Reconciliation Action Plan is a working group. It's not a formal committee of council.
No,
and it's not a formal
not.
committee, so
No.
quorum provisions don't apply.
They don't apply. They don't apply. Okay. You don't agree? Okay, so Councillor Vallelonga has moved the motion. Councillor Hughes have seconded the motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Did you vote? You didn't vote. Didn't vote. Okay. So 13 questions on notice, nil. 14 questions without notice. Who wants to ask a question? Without notice. Motions on notice, nil. Motions without notice, nil. Council member attendances and activities. We just had the most brilliant Apex breakfast. It was just perfect. It was just perfect. It's just perfect. Did you? Yeah.
Through Madam Mayor, I can attest to that. It was my first Australia Day. It's my great pleasure to join the stage with the Mayor and present awards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went off very well, and I've got to say it was an absolutely fabulous setting in Apex Park. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Matt Burnell actually produced a most fitting. He used the Australian way, and it was just a fabulous speech. It was a fabulous speech. Yeah.
I agree. But I would like to draw people's attention to the Australia Day Ambassador, Mr. Richard Turner, who also gave an excellent speech.
Richard Tucker.
Tucker, my apologies, Richard. He gave an excellent speech on how people can contribute towards our community.
Yeah.
And I understand that perhaps you're trying to source a copy of that for
Yes,
people who
I
are
have.
unable to attend.
I have
it's,
got a copy of that. I have got a copy of that.
It was particularly relevant to what we try and do within our community.
He wrote a beautiful speech. It was just a beautiful speech. Yeah, it was just glorious. Yeah. So, Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Mayor Edmund. Just wanted to touch on, I know that we're looking at changing the way we do this section. I don't want to use it to provide a full update, but I did attend the planning day for Business Gawler as well, which I think was very successful, and I think it was hard conversations were had, but it yielded, I think, quite some positive results about direction. Of course, we had a moderator come in and guide us through some of that, and I think that was really beneficial there as well, and we had attendance from the CEO, from Chris and from David Barrett as well on the day, and that was, I think we'll, moving forward, have some more discussions about that, but certainly the communication between the Business Gawler Board and Council is, I think, moving in a positive direction.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Council member attendances and activities. Who did
me on backward. Yes, I left here and went down to the southeast and also into Victoria. And because I'm very passionate about tourism, I stopped off at all the visitor information centres because I've had a lot to do with them in my time. And it's very interesting the way the information centres and that have changed. And I know certainly David is well up to date with a lot of these things that are happening, but the money being poured into the visitor information centres from the ratepayers and the council has certainly been limited back, especially in Mount Gambier for one, and Warrnambool. But it's very interesting to note that the most people now are doing everything online. And this has been seems to be the big change that's going on. And I know here in Gawler we've spent a lot of time on a number of staff to promote our town and so forth, but you know, it may well be, I mean, David may have some more ideas about promoting by way of digital and that sort of stuff through phones and all. I mean, even an old fellow like me, I book everything, even my Speedway tickets and everything on my phone, this old thing here, and everything was so much easier. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes. The other interesting thing is the combination for a long time to do with promoting tourism with probably 50 brokers. So you walked into a visitor centre, walked out an armful of brochures. Now there's a combination of putting them all into one promotional booklet. And the ones I've got, I also picked up all the local papers at the towns along the way. And I've got them, and anybody wants to have a look at them, they can. And I was going to ask David if he would like to have a look. But it's pretty fascinating the way the media now is promoting, you know, the community. One big thing that I pointed out was full page on the councils and what the council is doing, hence my reason, what I said there before. And I think if people are going to buy a local paper, and most of them are farmers and that down through that way, and they've still got the outdoor dunnies, and they're a good place to actually read those sort of papers. So I think we've got to look at our way we're spending our money in the future on how we promote the tourism in the town and the community. I'll just say one negative thing, which I was blown away. I stayed at a motel, a beautiful motel up on the hill in Mount Gambier, and I went on in and said to the fellow, "Oh, have you got a map of the town and that sort of thing? I'm just going to go for a drive around tomorrow." And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I bet you're busy." And he said, "Why, what's on?" And there was 11,000 people at the Speedway meeting I went to. I find that sort of thing, again, to do with the businesses, the groups, and the council working together to promote what's happening in your town, you know. Same thing happened in a little place called Portland. Same thing, and the people said, "Well, what's on this weekend?" And at Warrnambool there was 15,000 people at the meeting on Sunday night. So, you know, when something's on in your area, somehow or other you've got to be a better communicator. So I enjoyed it, great, and I'll be down at Murray Bridge Saturday and Sunday. Councillor Koch might come, I'm not sure, but see Australian Speedway Championships. They're from all over America and Australia.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for those comments. Confidential reports, Neil. I closed the meeting at 8:14 p.m. Awesome. Awesome. Good job. Good job, Madam Mayor.